Good morning. So I got this question often, and the question was, what happens if the IRS is still collecting after the collection statute has expired? And it's a really good question. It's a common question, and I want to break some things down to you because many of you might not know that there are events that you agree to on your account that could extend the collection statute date. All right, so I want to bring you through this mock account transcript. So again, I am using a real transaction codes, a real circumstances, real situations that will extend the collection statute date. So, for those of you who don't know, a collection statute expiration date, they call it a CSED. So it stands for collection statute expiration date. That means the last day that the Internal Revenue can legally collect the balance for a specific assessment. So for that year, okay. I want to show you the transaction code. The transaction codes, it tells a story. I always advise everyone to get their account transcript and read it. It does read like a story, and you read it in chronological order. All right. So the transaction codes, it's a three-digit code that they use to record the actions taken on your account. Okay. There's a closing code that means that's a two-digit that explains like the different type of freeze codes you might see on your account on event, and it's always attached to a transaction. So what's on this tax account transcript? So it's a 2017, right, with transaction codes. So you see that the returns was received on May 25th, 2018. When they filed their tax return, an $18,400 assessment was tax liability was assessed on the account. So this is the original tax return, right? 2018. The original collection statute expiration date would have been June 19, 2027. However, their current collection statute expiration date after tolling uh, is April 17, 2029. So I'm going to take you through why the expiration date, the collection expiration date was extended. Okay? So, again, they filed their return June 19, 2017. Original return. So this transaction TC 150 means that your return was received and it was processed. And as a result, this is what they owe, right? Maybe they didn't have enough taxes withheld. Maybe they didn't make estimated tax payments, all right? So this date, the processing of this assessment starts a 10-year period to collect the assessment date. So that was June 19, 2027. That's 10 years from this date. Okay, so what happened, right? So now, a few months later, transaction TC 240. That means that a penalty was assessed, right? A $920 penalty was assessed. It doesn't change the statute by itself, just that a penalty was assessed. Then you have an additional tax assessed after an examination. So exam came a few months later after that and said, hey, we're going to assess an additional tax, $2,100, right? So that additional tax that was assessed after exam starts its own 10-year period for the added amount. So now this examination additional tax, whatever they was, whatever exam, why ever they assess additional tax, that's, subjective. We don't know why. But that additional tax started its own 10-year period for the added amount. Okay, so then they didn't ask for an agreement. So they put a transaction code TC 971, action code 079. They wasn't responding to the notices, so they gave them an intent to levy and a notice of your right to a hearing. So that was mailed, right? So what happens is that when they send this letter, an intent to levy, and they're giving you your chance to respond to the letter, to giving you your rights to a hearing, it doesn't suspend it doesn't suspend it by itself. It sets up the appeal right. So it's still ongoing, right? But now they have the appeal. So what happens is that freezes everything. So you see this transaction code 971 action code 630 timely collection due process hearing request received. So they responded to this letter. They know that they have a right to a hearing, and so it puts a halt to the collection process. So appeals processing will post a litigation freeze, which suspends the statute while the hearing is pending. So again, the collection statute doesn't go away, it's just suspended. Now, always understand that the IRS is going to always do what's in its best interest. They could have very well kept it going, right? Kept the process going, kept the time going, but they wanted to suspend it. Okay, so a litigation freeze for timely collection due process hearing, suspend the suspended collection. So now the freeze that was on it that stopped the process, that stopped the time clock, has now been reinstated. So litigation freeze for timely collection due process hearing suspends the suspended collection period from this posting date until the reversal of the freeze. So now we have a TC 521. So this reverses the litigation freeze. Appeal issue determination letter, and the statute resumes. So whatever the actions that were taken during your hearing, clearly it didn't result in your favor, right? Because they resumed the statute, and they resumed the collection. So not only did it resume, it added 113 days to your statute, right? So the determination letter. So suspended. It was suspended from May 15th, 2023 through September 5th, 2023. So that's added to the end date of your collection statute date. So now here we have the customer. Okay, they understand whatever they lost. They didn't win their appeal. And so they asked for an offer in compromise, right? That's in transaction code 4 TC 480. So while you're requesting a offer in compromise and it's pending, it suspends the CSED again. The collection statute is suspended again while the offer is pending. Okay, so the offer was until the offer is accepted for processing. Okay, so in this situation, the offer in compromise was rejected, right? The offer in compromise was rejected, and the statute resumes. The collection statute resumed, but guess what? They added another 185 more days. This is how they get us, y'all. This is how they get us. So, statute resumes, adds 185 more days, the pending time plus 30 days. Bastards. Okay, so now we have, the taxpayers say, listen, I can't make these payments. So, and these are not all in one situation. These are just situations that will extend. So let's say an individual had that tax liability and they filed for bankruptcy. So a bankruptcy litigation freezes, it suspends the collection statute date as well. All right, so if you hear somebody yelling in the background, that's my son playing a dumb game. So bankruptcy filed, litigation freeze for bankruptcy. All right, suspend the collection statute again. So the bankruptcy is finished, it's closed, it's dismissed. They reverse the suspended CSED, right? And the CSED resumes again. Collection statute resumes, and it adds 333 more days. You see how they do? Of course, when you are fighting with them, they can't continue to collect on the debt in the event that you win the case. So you understand why it's suspended. But to add the additional days is what pisses me off. Okay, so if you have a collection or statute expiration date and you ask for an installment agreement, Again, that suspends it while they request is pending. Again, an installment agreement does suspend the CSED, and a lot of people don't know that. They just think that they are entering into an agreement to pay what they owe, and that's that. However, it suspends it. So once your installment agreement is approved, you see that transaction code 971-063, installment agreement approved. However, the statute resumes. It adds the pending time to the end date, which means that it added an additional 37 more days to the collection statute. Okay, so your agreement is in place, you're making payments, your payments applied. That doesn't change the statute. However, those other events, it did. Okay, so you have the collection statute expiration date timeline. Original assessment on the account when they first filed in 2017 gave an original collection statute expiration date of June 19, 2027. However, offer and compromise was pending from April 10th, 2019 through August 10th, 2019. That is 155 days plus 30 days after the rejection. So the new end date is December 21st, 2027. So let's say instead of the, well, not instead, but they had bankruptcy freeze from October 20th, 2020 through March 20th, 2021 is 151 days. That added 6 more months after the new stay. The new end date is November 18, 2028. Installment agreements pending. Again, these are all events that extends the current statute, the collection statute. And so the current collection statute expiration date for this account is 2029. And that is ridiculous. And this is what people have to deal with. Okay, so I want you to look on everyone should always do this. Order your account transcript, right? Order your account transcript and read it. So on your account transcript, the Internal Revenue displays a line labeled collection statute expiration date. So even if you call, they can also give you the information too, but you ought to look at your own account. Okay, so you want to look at your own account. So I just want to take you through this because a lot of people are saying, hey, I've been paying for well over 10 years, and they don't realize that there are events that extends the collection statute. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully you guys understood as I was explaining it. And of course, I'll come back with more stuff.